The airport hummed with chaos. A symphony of rolling suitcases and hurried goodbyes. But Riley Carter stood frozen, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. A TSA agent's gloved hand waved her forward, his face blank, but his eyes lingered too long on her ID. "Step aside, ma'am," he said, and the word ma'am felt like a blade, sharp with suspicion. Riley, 28, had been through this before too many times. Her auburn hair fell in soft waves over her denim jacket, but no amount of confidence could shield her from the dread of a security check. She glanced at Emma, her partner, standing a few feet away, her dark eyes flashing with quiet fury. Emma, 30, with her cropped black hair and leather jacket, was a storm barely contained, her hand twitching as if ready to pull Riley away from this moment. "Problem?" Emma asked, her voice low but edged with steel. The agent didn't answer, motioning Riley toward a private screening room. The air grew thick, the kind of heavy that settles before a storm. Riley's life hadn't always been this way. Growing up in a small Ohio town, she'd been Ryan, a boy who hid in baggy hoodies and silence, knowing the truth but terrified to speak it. It wasn't until college in Chicago that she found the courage to transition, to become Riley, to live as the woman she'd always been. But courage didn't erase the world's sharp edges. It didn't stop the stares, the whispers, or the TSA agents who saw her eyes still marked with an M, because bureaucracy moved slower than her heart and decided she was a puzzle to be solved. Emma had been her anchor for 3 years. They'd met at a poetry slam in a dimly lit bar, where Emma's words about love and rebellion had set Riley's soul on fire. Emma, a graphic designer with a penchant for breaking rules, loved Riley fiercely, unapologetically. But love didn't stop the world from testing them. And today, at O'Hare International Airport, the test felt like a trap. "ID doesn't match," the agent said, his voice flat as he held up Riley's passport. His name tag read Carlson. "We need to verify." "Verify what?" Emma snapped, stepping closer. "Her face is right there. She's not hiding anything." Riley squeezed Emma's hand, a silent plea to stay calm. Her stomach churned, but she forced her voice steady. "It's fine. Let's just get this over with." Carlson's partner, a younger agent named Diaz, hesitated, her eyes softer. "It's protocol," she said, almost apologetically. "We'll make it quick." The screening room was sterile, all white walls and cold fluorescent lights. Riley stood still as Diaz patted her down, her hands professional but invasive. Emma hovered by the door, her jaw tight. Riley tried to focus on Emma's presence, on the memory of their last quiet weekend in Seattle where they danced in the rain and laughed until their sides ached. But the memory felt distant now, drowned out by the beep of a scanner. "Ma'am, there's an anomaly," Carlson said, pointing to the body scanner's screen. A red outline blinked around Riley's torso. "We need to check your bag and anything under your clothing." Riley's breath caught. She wore a binder sometimes, a choice to feel safer in her own skin, but today she hadn't. What anomaly? Her mind raced. Had she forgotten something in her bag? A forgotten bottle of water. A metal hairpin. Emma's voice cut through. "This is ridiculous. You're targeting her because of her ID. Say it." "Ma'am, please," Diaz said, raising a hand. "We're just doing our job." But Riley felt the weight of it, the unspoken accusation in Carlson's stare. Being trans in public was like walking a tightrope, one wrong step, and the world could pull you down. She unzipped her backpack, her hands shaking slightly, and handed it to Diaz. "Go ahead," she said, her voice quieter than she meant. Diaz rummaged through the bag, pulling out a notebook, a laptop, a pair of earbuds. Then she paused, holding up a small, sealed envelope. "What's this?" Riley frowned. "I don't know." She didn't recognize it. The envelope was plain. No writing, no label. Her heart skipped. Had someone slipped something into her bag? Emma stepped forward, her voice sharp. "That's not hers." "Someone must have." "Open it." Carlson interrupted, his tone leaving no room for argument. Diaz hesitated, then carefully tore the envelope. A small object fell out, glinting under the fluorescent light, a USB drive, no bigger than a thumbnail. The room went silent, the kind of silence that screams trouble. "What the hell is that?" Emma demanded, her eyes darting between Riley and the agents. Riley shook her head, her pulse racing. "I swear, I've never seen it before." Carlson's expression hardened. "We need to scan this. And you're coming with us." As he led Riley toward another room, Emma grabbed her arm, her voice a fierce whisper. "I'm not letting them take you anywhere alone." Riley met her gaze, fear and love tangled in her chest. Whatever was on that USB, it wasn't hers, but it was about to change everything. The second room was smaller, colder, with a metal table and 2 chairs. A third agent, a woman with a badge reading Supervisor Torres, joined them. She looked tired, her graying hair pulled into a tight bun, but her eyes were sharp. "Explain," she said, nodding at the USB in Carlson's gloved hand. "I can't," Riley said, her voice steady despite the panic clawing at her. "It's not mine." Torres raised an eyebrow. "It was in your bag." "Someone put it there," Emma said, her arms crossed. "You think she'd carry something suspicious and just hand it over? Use your head." Torres didn't react, but Diaz shifted uncomfortably. "We'll scan it," Torres said. "If it's clean, you're free to go. If not," she didn't finish the sentence. Riley's mind spiraled. Had someone at the coffee shop where they'd stopped slipped it in? The airport bar. She'd left her bag unattended for maybe a minute, 2 at most. Her life as a trans woman had taught her to be vigilant, but not vigilant enough. Apparently, the USB was plugged into a secure laptop. Torres typed, her face unreadable. Seconds stretched into eternity. Then her eyes widened, just for a moment, before she schooled her expression. "This isn't what I expected," she said. "What is it?" Riley asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Torres turned the screen toward them. It wasn't drugs or weapons or anything Riley had braced for. It was a video file, grainy but clear enough, a recording of a crowded airport terminal. This one, dated 2 weeks ago. A man in a gray hoodie slipped something into a woman's bag as she passed through security. The footage cut to a close-up, the man's face, smirking, and then a clear shot of the USB drive in his hand. "Who is that?" Emma demanded. Torres didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at Riley, her expression softening. This drive has evidence of a smuggling operation. Someone's been planting items on passengers to get them through security. Riley's knees felt weak. So, I'm not in trouble. Not you, Torres said. But someone wanted you to take the fall. Emma's hand found Riley's, squeezing tight. The relief was overwhelming. But so was the question, who would do this? And why her? As they were escorted back to the terminal, Riley's mind raced. She wasn't just a random target, she was a trans woman. An easy scapegoat in a world quick to judge. But the USB wasn't just a trap. It was a clue. One that could unravel something far bigger. And Riley, with Emma by her side, wasn't about to let it go. The terminal's noise swallowed Riley and Emma as they stepped out of the security office. But the weight of what had just happened clung to them like damp air. Riley's hands still trembled, her mind replaying the grainy video of the man in the gray hoodie. Who was he? And why had he chosen her bag to hide his secrets? Emma's grip on her hand was fierce, grounding her. "We're not letting this go," Emma said, her voice low but burning with resolve. "Someone tried to set you up, Riley. We're finding out who." Riley nodded, though her chest felt tight. She wasn't a detective, just a graphic novelist who poured her heart into stories of resilience. But this wasn't a story she could close and walk away from. "Let's start with what we know," she said, trying to sound braver than she felt. They found a quiet corner near a coffee kiosk, the smell of roasted beans mixing with the sterile airport air. Riley pulled out her notebook, the one Diaz had glanced at during the search, and flipped to a blank page. "The video was from 2 weeks ago," she said, scribbling. "Same airport, same security line. That guy knew what he was doing." Emma leaned over, her leather jacket creaking. "He picked you because he thought you'd be an easy target. Someone who'd get flagged, searched, and blamed." Her voice cracked with anger. "It's because you're trans," Riley finished, her tone steady but heavy. "Yeah, I know." It wasn't a new wound, but it stung all the same. Riley had spent years building armor therapy, community, Emma's unwavering love, but moments like this tore through it. She wasn't just a person to that man in the hoodie. She was a stereotype, a vulnerability to exploit. Emma's eyes softened. "You don't deserve this." "No one does," Riley said, forcing a small smile. "But we've got something he didn't expect." "What's that?" "Us." Emma's lips twitched into a grin, and for a moment, the world felt lighter. They'd always been a team. From the night they stayed up until dawn debating art and politics to the quiet mornings when Emma traced Riley's scars with reverence. Together, they were unstoppable. Their flight to New York was delayed mechanical issues. The board sighed so they had time. Riley's phone buzzed with a text from her best friend, Lila, a trans activist who'd helped her navigate her early transition. "You okay? Heard about TSA nonsense at O'Hare." Riley frowned. "How does Lila know already?" Emma raised an eyebrow. "Word travels fast in the community. You know that." Riley typed back, "I'm fine. Weird stuff, though. Found a USB in my bag, not mine." Lila's reply was instant. "What?" "Call me now." They moved to a quieter spot near a gate, and Riley put Lila on speaker. Her voice crackled through, sharp with worry. "Riley, this sounds like a setup." There's been chatter online about weird stuff at airports, random searches. Planted items. Mostly targeting marginalized folks. Riley's stomach dropped. You think it's organized? I don't know, Lila said. But I've seen posts on X about trans women getting flagged at security for no reason. Some kind of pattern. Send me everything you've got. Emma leaned in. We've got a video. A guy planting the USB in someone's bag. TSA has it now. Lila was silent for a moment. That's big. If it's evidence of smuggling, you might have stumbled into something dangerous. Be careful. After hanging up, Riley and Emma exchanged a look. Dangerous. The word hung between them, heavy but not unfamiliar. Their relationship had faced its share of threats, disapproving family, strangers' glares, the occasional shouted slur. But this felt different, like stepping into a story with no clear ending. Let's retrace our steps, Emma said. Where could someone have slipped that USB into your bag? Riley thought back. They'd arrived at O'Hare 3 hours ago, checked in, grabbed coffee at a place called Brew Haven near Terminal 3. She'd set her bag down by her feet while they waited for their lattes. The coffee shop, she said. I wasn't watching it the whole time. Emma's eyes narrowed. Let's go back. Brew Haven was packed, the line snaking around tables cluttered with laptops and pastry wrappers. Riley scanned the room, her heart racing. The barista, a young woman with a nose ring, looked familiar. Had she been there earlier? Riley approached the counter, Emma at her side. Hey, Riley said, keeping her voice casual. Were you working a few hours ago? Around 10 a.m. The barista nodded. Yeah, been here all day. Why? Did you see anyone near our table? I had a blue backpack. Left it by my chair for a minute. The barista frowned, thinking. Maybe. There was a guy in a gray hoodie hanging around. Didn't order anything. Just kinda loitered. Thought he was waiting for someone. Riley's pulse quickened. Did you see his face? Not really. He kept his head down. Left right after you guys did. Emma pulled out her phone, scrolling to a still from the TSA video that Torres had let them screenshot. Was this him? The barista squinted. Could be. Hard to say. He was quick. It wasn't much, but it was something. Riley thanked her, and they stepped outside the shop, the terminal's chaos swirling around them. He was watching us, Riley said, her voice low. He knew when to move. Emma's jaw tightened. We need to figure out what's on that USB. If it's smuggling, what kind? Drugs? Data? And why frame you? Riley didn't have answers, but the questions fueled her. She wasn't just a victim in this, she was a fighter. Always had been. Growing up, she'd faced bullies who mocked her softness, parents who didn't understand, a world that tried to box her in. Transitioning had been her rebellion, her way of claiming her truth. Now, someone had tried to weaponize that truth against her. They'd picked the wrong woman. As they headed back to their gate, a man in a gray hoodie passed by, his face half hidden. Riley froze. Was it him? He didn't look back, disappearing into the crowd. Riley. Emma's voice was sharp with worry. I'm okay. Riley lied, her heart hammering. But she wasn't okay. She was angry, scared, and determined. Whoever this man was, whatever he'd dragged her into, she was going to find him. And when she did, she'd make sure he answered for it. The boarding call for their flight to New York crackled over the speakers. But Riley couldn't move. The glimpse of the gray hoodie lingered in her mind, a ghost she couldn't shake. She scanned the terminal, her eyes darting between faces, searching for that half-hidden smirk from the video. Emma tugged her arm gently. "We need to board. We'll figure this out in New York." But Riley's feet felt rooted. "What if he's on the plane?" she whispered. The thought was irrational. Maybe, but the USB in her bag hadn't been random. Someone had chosen her, and the why gnawed at her. Emma's eyes softened, but her voice was firm. "If he is, he's not ready for us. Come on." They boarded, settling into their seats near the back of the plane. Riley's window seat gave her a view of the tarmac, where baggage handlers moved like ants under the plane's belly. She clutched her notebook, its pages now filled with scribbled theories about the USB, the man, the smuggling. Emma leaned close, her shoulder brushing Riley's, a quiet reminder of their shared strength. As the plane climbed into the night sky, Riley's mind raced. The USB held evidence of a smuggling operation. But what kind? Drugs were the obvious answer, but the video suggested something more: calculated data. Maybe, or something encrypted. And why target her? Was it just because her ID flagged her as trans? An easy mark for suspicion. Or was it personal? Emma pulled out her phone, connecting to the plane's Wi-Fi. "I'm checking X," she said. "Lila said there's chatter about this. Maybe we can find something." Riley nodded, opening her laptop. She'd saved a copy of the TSA's screenshot. The man's face grainy but distinct, sharp jaw, dark eyes, a scar above his left eyebrow. She studied it, willing the image to spark a memory. Had she seen him before? At the coffee shop? On the street? Emma scrolled through X, her brow furrowed. "There's a thread here," she said, tilting her phone. "People talking about weird airport searches. A trans guy in Atlanta got pulled aside last month. Found a USB in his bag too. Another in Denver. Same deal. All marginalized folks: trans, queer, people of color." Riley's stomach twisted. So it's a pattern. They're targeting people who'll get extra scrutiny. "Exactly," Emma said. "Makes it easier to slip stuff through. Cops or TSA focus on the person, not the item." Riley's fingers tightened around her pen. She'd spent years fighting to be seen as herself, not a threat or a mistake. Now someone was using that fight against her, turning her identity into a tool for their crime. "Let's dig deeper," Riley said. "If this is organized, there's got to be a trail." They spent the flight combing through posts, cross-referencing dates and airports. A name popped up in a few threads: Gray Ghost. A hacker, maybe, or a smuggler, known for slipping contraband through airports by planting it on unsuspecting passengers. No real name, no clear description, but the scar above the eyebrow matched. "Gray Ghost," Emma muttered. "Sounds like a bad comic book villain." Riley didn't laugh. "He's real enough to frame me." By the time they landed at JFK, it was past midnight. The New York air was crisp, the city's pulse a stark contrast to the sterile airport. They grabbed their bags and headed to a hotel in Brooklyn, a small boutique place they'd booked for a weekend of galleries and quiet moments. But rest felt impossible now. In their room, Riley spread her notebook on the bed, pages cluttered with notes. Emma sat cross-legged beside her, her laptop open. "Okay," Emma said. "Let's assume Grey Ghost is our guy. He's part of something bigger smuggling ring. Maybe. But what's on the USB? Why risk planting it?" Riley chewed her lip. Torres said it was evidence. Maybe it's not just about smuggling, maybe it's a whistleblower thing. Like someone on the inside leaking proof. Emma's eyes lit up. That makes sense. If it's a leak, they'd want it to get through security without being tied to them. Plant it on someone like you. Let you take the heat. But it backfired, Riley said. TSA found it. And now we know. Emma grinned. Their mistake was underestimating you. Riley's heart warmed, but the fear didn't fade. If this was a leak, the people behind it wouldn't stop at one USB. And if they knew Riley had seen the video, she wasn't just a pawn anymore, she was a threat. The next morning, they met Lila at a diner in Williamsburg. Lila, 32, was a Forstall, with a shaved head and a tattoo of a phoenix on her arm. She slid into the booth, her eyes scanning them both. "You two look like you haven't slept." "We haven't," Emma admitted, sipping her coffee. Riley pushed the screenshot across the table. "This is him. Grey Ghost. Maybe. Ever heard of him?" Lila studied the image, her face grim. "Not by name, but this fits. I've been tracking reports of trans folks getting targeted at airports. It's not random. Someone's using us as decoys." Riley's chest tightened. "Why us?" "Because the system's already against us," Lila said. "TSA flags you for your ID. Cops profile you. And the real criminals slip through. Smart. In a sick way." Emma leaned forward. "So how do we find him?" Lila hesitated. "You don't. You pass this to someone who can, activists, journalists, someone with resources. This is bigger than you two." But Riley shook her head. "I'm not letting this go. He chose me. I'm choosing to fight back." Lila sighed, but her eyes held respect. "Okay. But you need a plan. Start with the USB's contents. If it's a leak, there's got to be a digital footprint." As they left the diner, Riley felt a spark of purpose. She wasn't just a victim, she was a storyteller. And this was her story now. She'd find Grey Ghost, uncover his game, and make sure he regretted crossing her path. The Brooklyn morning was alive with honking taxis and the chatter of pedestrians. But Riley's world had narrowed to the hunt. She and Emma sat in a cramped co-working space Lila had hooked them up with. Laptops open, coffee cups piling up. The USB's video was their only lead, but it was enough to fuel Riley's resolve. Emma, ever the tech-savvy one, had called in a favor from a hacker friend, Jamie, who specialized in digital forensics. Jamie, non-binary and 25, joined them via video call, their neon green hair glowing against a dark background. "Okay," Jamie said, adjusting their glasses. "I can't access the USB directly, but if you send me the video file's metadata, I can trace its origins." Riley hesitated. TSA has the USB. All we have is the screenshot and a partial video copy Torres let us download. That's enough, Jamie said. Send it over. And be careful who you trust. If this is a smuggling ring, they've got eyes everywhere. As Jamie worked, Riley and Emma dug into the X threads Lila had flagged. The pattern was chilling, at least a dozen cases in the past year, all involving marginalized travelers, trans, queer, disabled, finding strange items in their bags after security checks. Most hadn't been as lucky as Riley. Some faced arrests, others public humiliation. The stories burned in Riley's chest, each one a reminder of why she couldn't walk away. Emma's phone pinged with a message from Jamie. Got something, they wrote. The video's metadata points to a server in Chicago. Looks like a private cloud, heavily encrypted. Whoever made this didn't want it traced. Chicago, Riley said, her voice tight. That's where it started. Emma nodded. We need to go back. If Grey Ghost is based there, we can find him. Riley's heart raced. Returning to Chicago meant facing the place where this nightmare began. But it also meant answers. What about our trip? She asked. They'd come to New York for a gallery event showcasing Riley's graphic novel. A story about trans joy and resilience. Emma squeezed her hand. The gallery can wait. This can't. They booked the next flight back. Their hotel room now a war room of notes and theories. Riley sketched Grey Ghost's face in her notebook. The scar above his eyebrow a jagged line of ink. Drawing grounded her. Turned chaos into something she could control. On the plane, Emma leaned close, her voice low. What if this isn't just about smuggling? What if it's bigger, like corporate or political? Riley frowned. You think someone's using airports to move sensitive data? Maybe, Emma said. Think about it. Airports are chaos. Easy to slip things through if you know how to play the system. The idea sent a chill down Riley's spine. Her life had been small, focused on her art, her love, her survival. Now she was tangled in something that felt like a thriller novel. Except the stakes were her life. Back in Chicago, they met Jamie at a dive bar near Wicker Park. A place with sticky floors and dim lights. Jamie slid a USB drive across the table, not the one from the airport, but a copy they'd made of the video file. I cracked the metadata, they said. The server's tied to a shell company, Nexus Solutions. No public records, but they've got ties to private security firms. Riley's pulse quickened. Security firms. Like airport security. Maybe, Jamie said. Or bigger. Think government contractors. Black ops stuff. The video you found is part of a larger file. Looks like someone's been recording security breaches on purpose. Emma's eyes narrowed. So Grey Ghost isn't the mastermind. He's a pawn. Exactly, Jamie said. Someone higher up is pulling strings. And they're not happy you found their evidence. Riley's stomach dropped. You think they know we're looking? Jamie's expression was grim. If they're as connected as I think. Yeah. You're on their radar. That night, in their Chicago apartment, Riley couldn't sleep. She stood by the window, the city's lights blurring through her reflection. Emma wrapped her arms around her from behind, her chin resting on Riley's shoulder. We're in this together, Emma whispered. No matter what. Riley turned, kissing her softly. I know. But I'm scared. Not just for me, for everyone they're targeting. Emma's eyes burned with determination. Then we stopped them. For all of us. The next morning, they headed to O'Hare again, this time not as passengers but as investigators. Lila had connected them with a journalist, Sarah, who'd been digging into airport security scandals. Sarah met them in a parking lot, her car a mess of notebooks and coffee cups. I've heard of Nexus Solutions, she said. They're ghost shell companies within shell companies. But I've got a source inside TSA who might talk. As they planned their next move, Riley's phone buzzed. An unknown number. The message was simple. Stop looking, or you'll regret it. Her blood ran cold. Emma grabbed the phone, her face pale but fierce. They're scared, she said. That means we're close. Riley nodded, her fear hardening into resolve. Grey Ghost, Nexus Solutions. Whoever was behind Thisthed underestimated her. She wasn't just a target anymore. She was a threat, and she was coming for them. The threat on Riley's phone burned in her mind, but it only fueled her fire. She and Emma sat in Sarah's car outside O'Hare, the journalist's voice steady as she laid out the plan. My TSA source, Agent Diaz, you met her, says she's seen suspicious activity for months. She's willing to talk, but only in person, and only to you. Riley frowned. Why me? Because you're the one who found the USB, Sarah said. She trusts you. But it's risky. Nexus Solutions has deep pockets. If they're watching, you're walking into a trap. Emma's hand found Riley's, her grip fierce. We do this together, or not at all. Riley nodded, her heart pounding. She'd never seen herself as a hero, just a woman trying to live her truth. But truth had a way of demanding more, and Riley was ready to answer. They met Diaz at a nondescript diner near the airport, the kind of place where truckers and travelers blended into the background. Diaz looked different out of uniform, younger, her dark hair loose, her eyes haunted. I shouldn't be here, she said, sliding into the booth. But what happened to you, Riley, is not right. Tell us, Emma said, her voice soft but urgent. Diaz took a breath. Nexus Solutions isn't just a company. They're a front for a network moving encrypted data through airports' trade secrets. Classified intel. You name it. They use people like you as mules, planting USBs on passengers who'll get flagged. The chaos distracts from the real couriers. Riley's chest tightened. So I was a decoy. Diaz nodded. But you weren't supposed to find the USB. That video you saw. It was a mistake. A leak from someone inside trying to blow the whistle. Who's Grey Ghost? Emma asked. A contractor, Diaz said. Real name's Ethan Holt. Ex-military. Works for Nexus. He's their fixer, plants the drives. Cleans up messes. Riley's mind flashed to the scar above his eyebrow. The smirk in the video. Where is he now? Diaz hesitated. I don't know. But he's not the top. Someone's pulling his strings, someone with power. Sarah leaned in. I can publish this, but I need proof. The USB. The video. Anything. It's with TSA, Riley said. Torres has it. Diaz's eyes widened. Torres. She's not clean. I've seen her with Holt, passing things off. The revelation hit like a punch. Torres, the supervisor who'd seemed sympathetic, was part of it. Riley's stomach churned. They'd trusted her, shown her the video. Had that put them in more danger? We need to get that USB, Emma said, before they destroy it. Diaz shook her head. It's locked in evidence. You'd need a miracle to get it out. But Riley wasn't giving up. She'd spent her life fighting for her place in the world against family who didn't understand, against a society that judged her. This was just another fight, and she had Emma, Lila, Jamie, and now Diaz. They were a team, a family forged in struggle. That night, they devised a plan. Jamie hacked into O'Hare's security cameras, pulling footage of Torres meeting Holt in a restricted area. It wasn't enough to go public, but it was leverage. Sarah used her press credentials to request a meeting with TSA's higher-ups, claiming she had a story about corruption. The threat of exposure forced Torres to hand over the USB, though she claimed it was misplaced evidence. In a safe house Lila had arranged, Jamie cracked the USB's encryption. It wasn't just a video, it was a trove of documents. Names, dates, shipments of classified data to foreign buyers. Nexus Solutions wasn't just smuggling. They were selling secrets, using marginalized travelers as pawns to cover their tracks. Riley's hands shook as she read the files. This could take them down. It will, Sarah said, already typing. I'm sending this to every major outlet. But the victory felt hollow. Holt was still out there, and so was whoever was above him. The next day, as Sarah's story broke, Riley and Emma watched the news from their apartment. Airports tightened security. Nexus Solutions' name splashed across headlines. Holt's face was everywhere, a wanted man. Riley stood by the window, Emma's arms around her. We did it, Emma whispered. Not yet, Riley said. There's more to uncover. But we're not alone. The fight had changed her. She wasn't just Riley, the artist, the trans woman, the survivor. She was Riley, the one who'd faced a conspiracy and refused to back down. And with Emma by her side, she'd keep fighting for herself, for their love, for everyone who'd been used and discarded. As the city lights glowed below, Riley felt a quiet strength. The world could try to break her, but she'd rise every time, her heart fierce, her story unfinished.